On the morning of September 11, 2001, 19 men armed with box cutters, directed by a man on dialysis in a cave fortress halfway around the world, using a satellite phone and a laptop, directed the most sophisticated penetration of the most heavily defended airspace in the world, overpowering the passengers and the military combat-trained pilots on 4 commercial aircraft before flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour without being molested by a single fighter interceptor. These 19 hijackers, devout religious fundamentalists who like to drink alcohol, snort cocaine, and live with pink-haired strippers, managed to completely destroy 3 steel-framed skyscrapers with 2 planes in New York, while in Washington, a pilot who couldn't handle a single-engine Cessna was able to fly a 757 in an 8,000-foot descending 290-degree corkscrew turn to come exactly level with the ground, and without being so much as photographed by a single camera on one of the most surveilled buildings in the world, hit the Pentagon in the Budget Analyst Office, where DoD staffers were working on the mystery of the $2.3 trillion that Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had announced missing from the Pentagon's coffers in a press conference the day before, on September 10, 2001. The Secret Service, after hearing that America was under attack, decided to keep the leader of the free world at his publicized location without whisking him away to a secure bunker. And as the attack on New York continued, the president stayed in his seat, his very presence endangering the children at Emma Booker Elementary School, as he chose to continue listening to the story of the pet goat. Luckily, the news anchors were on the case, accurately identifying the culprits within minutes, the pundits knew within hours, and the administration knew within the day. And the evidence in the form of the pristine passport of Satam el-Sakami made its way through the intense flames, literally falling into the FBI's lap. But for some reason, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists who lost their loved ones in the falling towers demanded an investigation into one of the most notable attacks on American soil in U.S. history. The investigation was delayed, underfunded, set up to fail, a conflict of interest, and a cover-up from start to finish. It was based on testimony extracted through torture, the records of which were destroyed. It failed to mention the existence of World Trade 7, Able Danger, P-TECH, Sibel Edmonds, OBL, the CIA, and the drills of hijacked aircraft being flown into buildings that were being simulated at the precise time that those events were actually happening. The commission was lied to by the Pentagon, the CIA, and the Bush administration. And as for Bush and Cheney, well, no one knows what they told the commission because they testified in secret, off the record, not under oath, and behind closed doors. The commission didn't bother to look at who funded the attacks because that question is of, quote, little practical significance. In spite of their efforts, the 9/11 Commission managed to fail to answer most of the victims' family members' questions and pin the blame on all the people responsible, although no one so much as lost their job, determining the attacks were, quote, a failure of imagination. Because, quote, I don't think anyone could envision flying airplanes into buildings, end quote, except the Pentagon, FEMA, and NORAD, and the NRO. 9/11 was a special day where 2 laws of physics were suspended, the law of the conservation of energy, and for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. And jet fuel and office fires produce temperatures hot enough to melt structural steel, reduce them to puddles of molten metal, completely pulverize concrete, and create fires that lasted for months after the attack. The DIA destroyed 2.5 terabytes of data on Able Danger. The SEC destroyed their records on the investigation into the insider trading before the attacks, and government officials destroyed the structural evidence at Ground Zero. NIST has classified the data they used for their computer model of World Trade 7's collapse, stating that knowing how they made their model of that collapse would, quote, jeopardize public safety. The FBI has argued that all material related to their investigation of 9/11, including confiscated video recordings from surrounding businesses, should be kept secret from the public. But that's okay because the FBI probably has nothing to hide. Barry Jennings never existed, nor is anything he had to say worthy of your attention. And if you say otherwise, you're a paranoid conspiracy theorist and deserve to be shunned by all of humanity. Likewise, J. Michael Springman, Robert Wright, Richard Grove, Sibel Edmonds, and Indira Singh. After the attack, Osama bin Laden lived in a cave fortress in the hills of Afghanistan, but somehow got away. Then he was hiding out in Tora Bora, but somehow got away. Then he lived in Abbottabad for years, taunting the most comprehensive intelligence dragnet, employing the most sophisticated technology in the history of the world for 10 years. Bin Laden released video after video with complete impunity and getting younger and younger as he did so, before finally being found in a daring SEAL team raid, which wasn't recorded on video, in which he didn't resist or use his wife as a human shield, and in which these crack Special Forces operatives panicked and killed this unarmed man, supposedly the best source of intelligence about the most dastardly terrorists on the planet. Then they dumped his body into the ocean before telling anyone about it. Then a couple dozen of that team's members died in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. This is the story of 9/11, brought to you by the mainstream media and the military-industrial complex. And if you have any questions about this story, you're a paranoid, tinfoil hat-wearing, dog-abusing baby hater who will be reviled by everyone. If you love your country and freedom, you will never ever express doubts about any part of the story to anyone, ever. This official story has been made possible by the friends of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DoD, SEC, MSM, White House, NIST, and the 9/11 Commission. And in the words of Adolf Hitler, how fortunate for the leaders that men do not think.